And that was kind of a little how-to there, guys. If you ever need on anything to get a control arm to swing down a little bit, grab the jack out of the back. Now this one obviously has an end like that, so you just got to grab a socket, a 6-point that'll go over top of it. In this case, it's a 24, and you're good to go. So I'm in a little bit of a turn here, but I wanted to say, guys, this thing absolutely drives 100% like it did when I first picked this thing up. There's no crazy steering wheel vibration. It doesn't pull or anything. The steering wheel is straight. I'm trying to get a light on here, which I don't know where the lights are. There you go. The steering wheel's straight. It drives absolutely straight down the road, and I freaking love this thing. If I wanted to drive this thing every single day, I 100% think I could. So there you have it, guys. I hope you do enjoy the content. Again, please smash that like button, please subscribe, and we'll see you in an upcoming video before I stall it. Good morning, boys and girls, and welcome back to the channel. If you guys are new to the channel, I am SendIt Steve, and today is going to be about the Subaru Outback. Now, as you guys do know, I did do off-road tires of this thing. We did the custom winch plate and everything on the front, the winch mount. Honestly, it's easy because all I have to do is pull that pin, that whole winch comes out. Yes, I know a bunch of people were obviously talking about my articulation angle being terrible, but this is not going to be staying in there when I go wheeling. This will be, you know, in the back because number one, it's a lot of weight when this is sitting here. It is super heavy in the front end. I'm pretty sure you can see even when you look at it, see how far down the front actually is with that plate actually in there. So as long as everything goes smoothly, we'll just keep that in the back of here when we go wheeling, and when we need it, if we need it, we just toss it in here and kind of pull ourselves out. Now, with that being said, I am going to also mount one in the rear of the vehicle, and I'm thinking somewhere structurally, I think we got to mount this next one high enough. That way, if something happens in the back, we can end up pulling ourselves out from the back. I do want to make custom rear bumpers for this thing, as these are flimsy and are probably going to break off. So stay tuned for that video later on, but we're going to definitely do a mount in the back also for a winch plate. That way, if we're stuck and we can't pull ourselves forward, we can pull ourselves backwards. So anyway, with that being said, today is going to be about a lift kit for this thing, and I'm going to custom fabricate one for this thing. So a couple ways you can do it here. I've seen people do two different things. I've seen people do spacers in the subframes, which we are probably going to do eventually, which basically would take the subframe, easier to see on the other side, but as you can see, like right here is where a bolt would go through. I've seen people take and put spacers on there, which lowers the subframe on the down like 2 or 3 inches. Then the same with the front up there is you just kind of pull all the bolts out, pull the subframe down. You'd have to extend like right here where there's some, and then on this side too, there's like one here, and then there's 2 here. So you'd have to extend all that stuff as well, which isn't a big deal. And then the other thing that I did talk to a buddy of mine, SendIt Subi, definitely check him out as you see on the screen there, but he said that there's a camber arm that I would need to get. That way I don't, you know, tear through tires and things. Now, we don't plan on driving this thing down the street. I don't think it's a big deal versus his is a daily driver, but I would like to be able to have the like full function out of this thing. So we'll probably take him up on that. He said, yeah, I can buy the cheap one and get away with it. So again, thanks for all your advice and everything. But for right now, we are gonna go ahead and do the struts. So let me climb back out here. We're gonna get this thing on jack stands, and long story short is we're gonna basically do like a cap on the top of the coilover. So let me just get this thing in the air, and I'll show you guys what we're talking about and how we're gonna do it. Now that we've got the strut out, I'll show you how I plan on doing this. Alright, now by grinding that off, this pipe should, slide right over that. So that's going to be our, you know, our safety advantage here. Now the other thing we're going to do is measure out. I think I'm only going to do like 1.5 inches. So this might end up being like 1 3/4 inch lift, or, you know, 2-inch lift. I don't know. I'm not really sure how it's going to be. It probably should be somewhere around a 2-inch lift. But we're going to cut this, I think, at 1.5 inches. I should be able to then reach my welder in and weld on the inside straight to this, instead of making a plate down here at the bottom. So it should end up working out rather well. We're going to just go for it and hope for the best. As far as a plate, as you do know from the front of this thing, I did have, so I've used the hitch from JPM Tech, so definitely check him out. And I actually have the section that I cut off that bolts to the frame left over. So basically what we're gonna do is we're gonna make a plate that actually bolts the same way through here, and then we'll just be able to nut and bolt the top plate to this. We'll cut it out so that it's kind of a, not really a perfect circle, but the plates under here are perfect circles. So you can cut it out in any shape or form just so that it fits in there. And we'll then weld this to this pipe on the top, and it'll just nut and bolt right in. So stay tuned. You guys can watch the progress. And I'm freaking excited about this, guys. Homemade lift. Who would have thought? Who would have thought I would have bought this thing and just kind of did my own thing and had a free-for-all and had this much fun? So, plug and chug, baby. Let's get her done. All right, I went ahead and got everything cleaned up here. In case anybody wanted to know and to do this themselves, this is a 2 1/4 inch inner diameter piece of steel. So we should be able to just weld straight to that. And then, like I said, we'll go ahead and weld a plate right on the top of here. And then we'll through bolt this plate to the other one. Now the kits that you will actually buy online, the bottom plate then would bolt to this, but I'm gonna weld straight to this. It isn't a big deal. If you don't have access to a welder or anything, then you can probably do this differently. But if I have a feeling if you're gonna, you know, take on doing something like this, you'll have a welder. So just go ahead and weld it on there. It ain't gonna hurt anything. Worst case, the only thing you'll have to do then, if you have to put a strut mount or anything on it, is you'll have to just cut the top plate off, and then you can get to that bolt there, and that strut mount will come right off. So not a big deal. We're not really hurting any kind of structural integrity. The rubber that we took off is basically just so you don't get creaks and things like that on this thing. As you do know, I don't care if we get creaks and things like that. Plus 90% of the time it'll be off-road only. So let's just go ahead and weld this thing up, and I'll show you the plate that we're gonna cut out. Having my normal GoPro issues. So I couldn't really ground out anywhere perfect along here. I actually had to go ahead and ground up through here. So we'll have to work around this ground, but it should work. I went ahead and tacked it already. You can tell it's not coming off of there. But with that grounded, now we should be able to just weld right around the inside and be good to go. So I'm just gonna keep welding here, and I'll pick back up. Guys, if you do see the welds in here, do not make fun of me, because obviously the rubber is popping. You can see on that side, I didn't weld there yet. The rubber is popping and contaminating the clean, fresh metal. So I'm gonna have to stop right now and clean that up as best I can, and then we'll keep going. I think at this point most of the rubber is out of it, so we should be good to just go ahead and run a quick bead. All right, so as you can see, I have the bolt, bolted in place. It's not like super tight or anything, but I've got the plate that we're gonna use welded in place, and I wanna make sure that we actually get this thing lined up absolutely perfectly. So that's why we're doing it this way and not just, kind of welding it on and hoping for the best. Yes, you could probably spin the bottom strut and make it work, but I just would rather this slide in place be a drop in, drop out replacement, and be good to go. So I'm gonna go in here. Obviously I know the strut goes this direction. I can tell by the mud on the front and not on the back, but we're gonna go ahead and slide this thing up into place. I may need a jack for this. I'm definitely gonna need both hands, so I'm gonna sit you guys down and try to record as best I can here. And then basically what I'll do is I'll go ahead and tack weld and everything, and then I'll drop it back out, welded everything back up, bolt it up into place, and we should be ready to rock, ready to roll. Worst case, I may have to end up cutting these tabs off if I can't get a wrench in here to hold these to tighten them, but I think we'll be good to go. So let's get this thing bolted in place here and tack weld it up. After about 20 minutes of wrestling, you can see we've got it pretty much dead center where we want it to be. So I'm gonna go ahead and start tack welding up. I think everything's good. We got the bolt finally through, and that was kind of a little how-to there, guys. If you ever need on anything to get a control arm to swing down a little bit, grab the jack out of the back. Now this one obviously has an end like that. So you just got to grab a socket, a 6-point that'll go over top of it. In this case, it's a 24, and you're good to go. So let me go ahead and get this thing all welded up here. I'm going to try to weld as best I can inside the car here, and then we'll pull it back out, weld it all around it, get this thing tossed back in, and be ready to rock, ready to roll for the other side. All right, and honestly, if you can get this thing to actually heat this plate up and like the two metals, if you can, basically what I've learned is I make a quick pass down the center for like maybe half an inch, and then I come back and kind of blend it in and blend it in, blend it in, blend it in. If you can actually get these two metals hot enough, this welder will actually penetrate decently. You can tell there's definitely deep penetration throughout the welds and everything, and you know, I still got to give it a win. I still love this welder, and no, Harbor Freight didn't sponsor any of this. I just, for some reason, love this welder. Now, if I was going to do like a real project, I definitely wouldn't use this welder, but for this, who cares? We'll send it. All right, let's get this thing back in the car and start the other side. There it is. Moment of truth. That is the new ride height for the Subaru. That looks freaking killer. I can't wait to get the front done too, because this thing is gonna freaking be a beast once we get it into the trails. So we're gonna go ahead and start on the front. I'm teaching Riley a little bit of mechanics here, and we're gonna go ahead and knock out the front here. Well, I just realized that my GoPro did not record me doing any of this side here. Luckily I caught it right now. Like, I heard my GoPro ding and beep, so I actually caught it right now. This side is actually completely in. You can see here we've gone ahead and put kind of some spacers in there, some adapters. Not really sure how well you can see. Let me see if I can grab my phone and turn that on. Yeah, you can see we just put 3 spacers in the factory location, so it bolted right back up into place, and it actually pushed that wheel down to where you can actually get to it. I'm sure you can see up there we went ahead and also just welded the nuts to the actual top strut mount plate, and everything worked perfectly. So what you'll end up doing is, here, I'll show you on this one over here. I won't need the light, but the factory, it will have 3 nuts that are like this. I'm not sure where the third one is, but those actually stick up here from factory. So what I went ahead and did is punch them out, and then we put a bigger one in, one that's long enough to go through our, finger over it, our thing here. I went ahead and drilled our holes in the center. Go ahead and put it through. Bingo bango, and now that is going to be our spacer. So again, I'm going to do the same thing I did on the other side, is I'm going to just weld these straight to this plate here and be good to go. So I mean, the front was super easy. It did take me some time to actually think of how I would be able to do this and do it properly and safely. I was going to use that channel right there and make my own plate, but I think this is just going to be the safest, quickest, and fastest way to get this done, and definitely the most efficient. So let me go ahead. You can see I got them measured out to where I need to cut them. There's a line there, so we'll have our 3. I got to drill the center hole for this third one, and we'll get this thing tossed back together. So I basically already had this side down on the ground, and it was leaning way too hard like this. So once I get this down, I mean, this thing looks freaking killer. So I'm gonna try to hurry up and get the other side done real quick. I also got to paint these wheels yet tonight before we get off-roading tomorrow, because we're supposed to go off-roading tomorrow. So let me stop talking here and get this stuff done. It over here in the light, but there you have it. You got your additional 2-inch spacers there on top of the strut, and now you just go ahead and take your measurements of where you lined it up, put the bolts back into place, bolt everything back down, and you've got yourself 2.5 or 2 inches of lift the entire way around your Subaru Outback for no money at all. Just nuts and bolts and metal that you had laying around the house. So let me go ahead and finish it up here, guys, and I'll pick back up probably at Sunoco, because this thing needs fuel anyway. So stand by. Oh yes, this thing looks freaking sick now. As you can tell, it's now up in the air 2 inches compared to where it was before. I freaking love this thing. I'm actually had a blast doing this. The metal that we used was a little bit of scrap metal laying around for Josh's, which was the side pieces for the winch plate and everything. And then that's the front suspension. So again, huge shout out to Josh, JPM Tech, for the metal in the front of this thing. In the rear, that was stuff that I had laying around. Obviously, you can tell that was easy stuff. But this thing looks freaking killer, guys, and I cannot wait to actually get this thing out in the woods and actually have some fun. Also, I wanted to go ahead and talk about the bottom. My kids and I are going to do some custom painting on that later on, probably this weekend or this week after I come back from wheeling and get it all cleaned up. We also have 4-wheeling planned. Hopefully we can make hopefully we can make all that work at the same time, do a little off-roading with this thing, have some fun, and go ahead and be able to enjoy it and get it painted up. So there you guys have it again. If you like the content, please smash that like button. We're out here doing different things. We're not copying anybody else. We're just out here sending it and doing what we can with what we have. And I love content like this. Doesn't cost me anything but a few hours of work, and looks killer afterwards. But there you guys have it. Give it a big thumbs up. If we hit 5,000 likes on this video, I will do something special. I don't know what yet, but we'll do something special with this. Take care, guys. We'll see you in the next upload. I'm in a little bit of a turn here, but I wanted to say, guys, this thing absolutely drives 100% like it did when I first picked this thing up. There's no crazy steering wheel vibration. It doesn't pull or anything. The steering wheel is straight. I'm trying to get a light on here, which I don't know where the lights are. There you go. The steering wheel's straight. It drives absolutely straight down the road, and I freaking love this thing. If I wanted to drive this thing every single day, I 100% think I could. So there you have it, guys. I hope you do enjoy the content. Again, please smash that like button, please subscribe, and we'll see you in an upcoming video before I stall it.